there, I'm Ellen, Director of Programming here at Progressive Performance, and in this video we are going over the overhead press. So when we are starting this progression, really look at the client's file first if there's any issue with overhead expression. Most of the time we will start with the landmine press anyway, but take note in case they are unable to actually go overhead. So landmine press, any bar in some sort of corner pivot or in the corner of a rack. I'm going to have Joe pick up the end of this bar. You want to make sure the client is close enough to the bar, so this end position is just a couple inches from the front of their shoulder. Too far away and they're going to end up kind of reaching really far and then almost falling forward when that bar comes back down. So nice straight line here. The bar is going to be in the hand of the same knee that's down. Feel free to give them a pad if that feels better on their knee. From here, I'm just going to tell Joe to press her arms straight forward and back down to her shoulder. Typically, that'll be enough cueing for your client. Tell them to add weight if it's easy. We'll get to 10 reps or so. And then do the other arm to complete the set. So they would just swap the knee, switch the arm, do the set there. Couple things to look out for. If it's getting heavy and they're going to try and force it up, they're going to tip back to try and press it. Cue them to keep the rib cage in, tighten that core, and lift the chest a little bit. So they may be struggling with some T-spine extension. That could be in their warm-ups if they do have some overhead problems that you saw written down in their file. Tighten that core up, and then that's the beauty of the landmine press, is you can kind of get away with a slight lack of T-spine extension because you're not actually going all the way overhead. And then the other thing is sometimes they're just trying to do the movement as much as they can and they end up pushing the bar really far in front of them in that end range. That may cause some twisting of the torso. So again, just keeping the core tight. We're isolating just the arm doing the work. Yep. And then just going to do a couple good ones to finish. Everything's solid here. The arms and everything working. And from here, you will progress to a dumbbell press. From the landmine press, we're going to go ahead and go to a kneeling dumbbell press. So same position, whatever knee's on the ground, that's the arm that's going to do the work. So with a dumbbell, you're going to have your elbow facing forward or the end of the dumbbell facing forward. That'll put your shoulder in a happier position. Sometimes people like to rotate out, so pull them in front, and then from here, without any rotation, you're just pressing straight overhead, just up and down. So I like the kneeling position because it locks you into place when you're in doing standing dumbbell press. With one or two dumbbells, people tend to tip back a little bit more into an arch position. That can happen in the kneeling when people are struggling, so you'll see them lean back to try and press it overhead, get them to tuck that rib cage in, and then press tall. So two reasons for that. One could just be they're not quite strong enough to press that weight, so in order to get it overhead, they need to tip back. So give them a little bit of an ego check. Or two, they don't quite have the mobility to get that arm by their ear here without tipping back. So again, looking at their file, if they need any extra shoulder work before working out with their upper body, take note of that. From here, if they would like to progress to a little more difficult, you can go to the standing 2-arm dumbbell, but with the kneeling, it does lock you into position and you can progress pretty far with it. We do have heavy dumbbells, so I would be content if a client stayed at this variation of the overhead press while they're here. From here, you would go to the dumbbells or barbell press. So if your client is in powerlifting or just really wants to progress their overhead press with a barbell, go ahead and introduce them to that. It is a little harsher on the shoulders because it's a set position as opposed to the dumbbells allowing you to be a little more neutral. So keep an eye on their shoulder health and just communicate with them about it. I'm going to have Joe walk up to the bar here. Your hands will be a little bit wider than your shoulders. She's going to pull her elbows under, unrack it. From here, set up that rib position with the tall shoulders exactly like we were talking about with the landmine and the dumbbells, and then go ahead and press overhead, really pushing your head through in this top position, because we want a really straight line with her wrists, shoulder, and hips. If it's too heavy, what's gonna happen is the low back's gonna go, and she's gonna kind of tip behind the bar here. That means it's either too heavy, and again, they need to do a slight ego check, drop the weight, or they have a limited T-spine mobility or shoulder mobility. So to help with that, you can widen the grip a little bit to help with shoulder mobility, as well as kind of do their T-spine warm-up or whatever other upper body warm-up they have in between the sets here to get that full mobility so you get full benefit from it. From here, load weights on the side of the barbell and progress it just like you would any other lift. That is our overhead press progression from the landmine press all the way up to using a barbell. Again, really focusing on the spine position, keeping it neutral, tucking the rib cage in, keeping your T-spine extended, and then trying to reach overhead as much as possible, or with the landmine, just keeping that core control and keeping the arm right out in front of you. If you have any questions about whatever shoulder issues come up, go ahead and talk to whoever gave the eval to the client so they can further discuss any plan of action that is needed with the shoulder, or get them signed up for a one-on-one. Sometimes it can be a little out of our scope of practice if there is a continued shoulder impingement issue. So keep them to landmine press if you're unsure, and talk to another coach to kind of learn a little bit more about the progressions.